did a thing and I switched to the iPhone Air.
Gasp.
Now, before all of you start rat-a-tat-tatting in the comments section, before all of you start writing your little reverbs of, oh, this phone is terrible, why would you downgrade, why would you do this or that, or why would you do anything that involves having to change or go backwards? Well, listen, first of all, I'm not you, so that's the first reason. And secondly, I don't look at myself as a pro user. I am a very basic, average user that uses his phone like every other person. I don't sit here and consider myself a huge content creator where I need pro footage every day. If I wanted something like that, I would use my work phone, which generally has the triple camera setup as well as a couple of other sensors. So if I really needed it, I would use that. But I decided to take the plunge and take the jump to the iPhone Air, and I'm going to talk to you about my experience so far. And I mean, it's not really a big spoiler if you're reading the title. I actually have no regrets switching over. There are a few negatives which I will discuss. I do want to get those out of the way, but I just want you guys to know that these videos are opinion based, so you have a right to disagree, you have a right to feel how you want to feel. So if anything I'm saying in this video doesn't resonate with you, that's totally fine. You're free to have your opinion, you're free to say whatever you want. Just don't be arrogant, because honestly, it doesn't matter at the end of the day if you like Android or iPhone. Just like what you like and let other people like what they like. Now we got that out of the way, let's talk about the negatives. So first negative is, of course, which I think everybody's been talking about this phone, battery life. Battery life has been the subject of this phone. Now, for me personally, I have not needed to get a battery charge every 2, 3, 4 times in a day. Most of the time I charge my phone to 80%, which is something I've done even on the Pro phones, but it is a significantly smaller battery, and it does affect, especially when I do have a busy day at work, and even at 100%, it does still need to be charged up. So with that being said, if you have the last generation MagSafe battery pack, which is now a rarity nowadays, you can use this with the phone, and it does improve the performance of the phone, and it does help to protect your battery's longevity by draining it, but it does help to extend it. But they also sell the iPhone Air MagSafe battery pack, which I do have with me, but I forgot to bring it down here for this video. It does address the issue of battery life. It does address a lot of those things, but realistically being said, you are going to notice that battery life compared is definitely not in that caliber. But if you're just a simple basic user, you could definitely totally get away with the battery life on the iPhone Air. But for me, I definitely needed the battery pack, and it does make a significant difference as it's able to go at least an additional 5 hours or more, depending on the usage and the day of time. I recently took it to a concert and also wrestling show, and the battery pack came in clutch, especially with photography. And I do have some sample stuff that you'll see later on in this video. But the other negative that I have is the 5G connectivity. Now, of course, it is using Apple's C1X modem. So the C1X modem does do a good job. I'm going to actually take off the battery pack. The C1X does a very, very good job of being very power efficient and can produce 5G ultra wideband. However, it is not the ultra wideband that a lot of you are familiar with. It is specifically more comfortable with the sub 6 low band millimeter wave 5G. It is not true millimeter wave, it's sub 6, so that means that this phone will still get access to ultra wideband, but you won't be getting those blazing 1 or 2 gigabyte speeds for the download and upload. And also, being on a sub 6 network, you will get deprioritization, or it will be congested heavily if you're not on a premium data plan with your provider. Now, of course, I am with Verizon, so I do get access to the ultra wideband, and while it hasn't been a huge factor on a day-to-day, going to those wrestling shows, it definitely showed itself. But considering you do those maybe a couple times a year, I think you can live with that exception. But just putting that out there for the negatives. But as for the rest of the phone, it's really all positives from here on out. For starters, I'm going to start with the most controversial thing, the camera. I thought that the single lens wasn't going to be enough for somebody like me, as I've been used to triple cameras for the last 6+ years. But considering the fact that this thing produced a lot of great photos and does a great job at the 1 to 2 times zoom, I honestly found myself not really missing the second lens. Now, of course, I do know that a lot of people would have preferred a second lens on the phone, But for myself I don't necessarily see that being an issue because I don't take that much photos anyway. And considering I had my work phone with me, I could have easily have used that, but I ended up actually grabbing this more than my work phone. So that is something to behold and a big positive. The second positive is the actual phone itself. Now look, I know the whole concept with this thing is that it's super thin and super light. Now I know that the market isn't asking for that. The numbers are definitely reflecting that. But honestly, I gotta say, after going so long with such a big, heavy phone, it actually felt very refreshing to have a lighter and more compact phone. The 6.5-inch screen is perfect for my hand. I feel like I could use the device. It's like the perfect size. The titanium build is grade 5 titanium, I believe, so it's an even better built phone than compared to the previous titanium models that they've had. It also has a ceramic shield 2 on the front and a ceramic shield on the back, so it is very good when it comes to drop protection. And also it has the A19 Pro chip, so the actual device itself is like a pro phone without some of those pro features, but you honestly really aren't missing out if you weren't using them. I really enjoyed the experience with this phone on a day-to-day. I enjoyed actually using it, holding it in one hand, and you know, I actually like the design of this phone. I think that Apple did this because they wanted something new. They were struggling with the Plus models anyway, so they wanted to introduce something new. But of course, with all the reports and with everything going on right now, it is very highly unlikely we're going to see the iPhone Air be around as long. I think that they will make a second generation model, but we'll talk about that in a later video. And then the last surprising positive that I have is actually the speaker quality. Now, this does lead into a quick negative that I did forget to mention. Voice calls on speakerphone is good, but when you're in a noisy environment, it is very noticeable. I actually feel like that is one deal breaker that I'm actually compromising on, is because I'm more familiar with a dual speaker system. But with that being said, the speaker system is actually surprisingly very well rounded. For starters, it produces the low ends and everything good, but surprisingly, it doesn't distort from the actual experience. Even at high volumes, it's still decently loud. I do, of course, use Bluetooth headphones and speakers whenever I'm doing anything with my phone, so that's why I kind of get away with it here. But I actually found myself really enjoying the speaker, even though it's a single speaker. Although I do hope that for the next release, if they do make a second generation, they put a dual speaker at the bottom. But so far, this has been a very interesting experience. And not only am I not regretting this experience, but honestly, I feel like it's a better experience versus having gone from all the phones. Because I really feel like this does offer something different. And even after a month, this thin profile never gets old. It almost feels unreal that this is a phone. And I really enjoy the iPhone Air. I think the display is phenomenal. I think the selfie camera is great. I think there's a lot of positives here. But again, of course, this phone isn't for everyone. This is made for a specific segment of people that want something simple. But I think Apple has a product here that honestly feels magical, and that's something that I feel these iPhones don't have. But of course, again, this is not for everyone. This is made for a specific set of users that want an iPhone that, you know, it's different. So I will, of course, make more videos as we go along. It's only been 30 days since I've had the iPhone Air, so this is not really a full review, but I will be making a video in 6 months, and then, of course, when we get to the year mark, I will do a 1 year later video. But that's my reaction so far from switching to the iPhone Air, and honestly, after everything, I have no regrets. I really love this phone.